afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Work and Art Wednesday. And the topic of the day is building your online presence. I just want to do a few housekeeping things before we get started. So first of all, this is recorded and it will be posted soon. So if you'd like to view it again, you may. Your microphones will be muted during the presentation. There is closed captioning available for those that need it. And please use the question and answer icon if you have any questions, and we will try to get to all of them during the presentation. You can also, if you have any comments, you can also post those in the chat feature. And at the very end, there will be a survey after the presentation to let us know what you think about it and what we can do better, and also a registration for the next webinar or workinar that are coming up. So at this time, I would like to introduce our presenter. His name is Ryan Valentine. He is the program manager at GoHealth. He is a CFFS major. I worked with Ryan back when I was in consumer and sciences. And I just want to welcome you, Ryan, and I'm going to let you move forward, and we're looking forward to hearing more about building our online presence.
Perfect. Thank you for the intro, Nancy. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Nancy said, I'm an Ohio State EHE alum back from 2011. So I'm real excited to come full circle and talk with you guys about some important topics related to your job search. Just a heads up, we're going to be focusing on LinkedIn as a tool today and how to leverage it for your job search to get the job that you want and build the network that you want. You know, I've leveraged these strategies that we're going to talk about and have actually used it to land a couple different jobs. So it's tried and tested, and these are feedback items that you can get from other areas as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we will take it away. Perfect. So the topic here today is building your online presence. More specifically, how to do it and what to do with it. Okay. Again, my role, program manager at GoHealth. GoHealth is an insurance company, and we're just expanding to the Columbus market. This QR code here is if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're viewing today from your computer, you can just open up your cell phone and scan that, and it'll take you right to my profile. So I'd be happy to connect with you and answer any questions offline after the webinar. But the agenda for today is how to create an online presence specifically to find a job. Then we're going to talk about tips for creating an effective profile. We're going to do a live profile discussion. So we're going to look at my profile and talk about some of the logic behind it and why some features work better than others. We're going to help you set up some hacks, if you will, to work the system, or rather put the system to work for you while you're out there searching for a job, because I know that can be a full-time job in itself. And then we're going to review, take some questions, and we'll send you away with some action items. So number one, online presence. What is it? Why does it matter? And what are we supposed to do with it? We're going to take a quick poll here just to get in the right mindset. So we're curious of the audience. Number one, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Number two, do you actively use it for your job search? Perfect. So as you can see, we're looking at some results here. It looks like almost everyone has a LinkedIn profile, kind of what we expected. It's pretty common and pretty popular nowadays, especially someone going through college coming up with the job or career prospects on the horizon. Also not surprising, do you actively use it for your job search? Yes, we got about 18%. No, we're at 41%, and sometimes 41%. That's perfectly okay. It's not surprising because a lot of people don't talk about why, when, or how you should use it. So that's what we're hoping to address here today. So with that, we'll dive right in. Here's LinkedIn by the numbers, guys. I was curious, how prevalent is LinkedIn, right? We are all aware of it. As you saw, 94% of us have a profile, but did you realize that 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn as the primary place to vet their job candidates? So that's more than all other major social media networks out there combined. So yes, managers and recruiters are going to your Facebook and looking on Twitter and Instagram, but LinkedIn is kind of the end all be all that they're looking for to figure out, is this person a good candidate? Are they competitive? And do they fit with my company? So specifically, it's 706 million users. That's a lot of people to connect with. And it's right up there with all the big ones: Facebook at 1 billion, Instagram at 1 billion, and TikTok at 800 million. The thing that I think is really interesting about these numbers is it's so close behind. But think about it, LinkedIn is only for professionals and working people, right? You don't see any 12-year-olds with a LinkedIn profile, for example, but we have younger demographics and younger users on all these other platforms. So it just shows, you know, it's legit, it's valid, it's well used across the world. So we're going to start to talk about, again, getting in the right mindset. What are some things to avoid? What are some things that we certainly should be doing? This is all about building habits. So what should we do? Do ask for referrals, right? Reach out to people that are in the companies, in the industries that you're looking to get into, and just be social. It's called social media for a reason. Reach out to them. Hey, I'm in college. This is my degree. Here's what I'm interested in. I'd like to get to know you or know your company. All of those things are great examples of things to do. Post, like, comment, and follow. You guys know how social media works, right? Just like all the other platforms, you want to show up and not get lost in the mix. You got to interact. So posting anything that you believe in, it doesn't even have to be on LinkedIn, right? You find anything on the web, you can post it to your LinkedIn. You can write original articles, thoughts on things. You can like things that other people post. You comment on them. That's a sure way to get involvement with people you're trying to connect with, or companies for that matter. And then when you follow people, again, just like the other social media platforms, you'll be kind of in the know what they're working on, what they're posting, and what they're doing. So that'll help you start a conversation when you're reaching out. You can also research companies, right? A lot of people don't realize this. LinkedIn is not just the individuals that work at companies, but the companies have their own page. That's how I landed my job that I'm at currently at GoHealth, is I was researching the company. And then from there, you can reverse engineer and you go in and see who is, you know, hiring manager, for example, or in recruiting at HR. Or if you find a job that has the title that you like, you can go in and see who's an employee at that company who has that same title. And back to our first bullet point, ask for a referral, reach out, introduce yourself. Ask, hey, who should I talk to? Who can I get my resume in front of to have a discussion about this role? And you can do that anytime. I would encourage you to do that sooner rather than later, right? It's not just when you're ready to sign up for that interview. Do it earlier if it's an industry or a company that you're interested in, so that you can get networked in with them and you can learn, what should I be focusing on? What should I be talking about when I meet with these people to ensure that I land the job that I want? Some don'ts though. Don't spam people. Anyone who uses LinkedIn often or has a certain number of connections will get, you know, can probably attest to this. You'll get a bunch of spam reach out emails and in-mails. That's what LinkedIn calls it, their version of emails, where people are just blindly reaching out, pitching you their product or their course, or they want to hire you sometimes. And that may sound good, but I mean, I've gotten emails from people where they say, hello, John, I'm interested in talking with you. I'm like, I'm not John. You didn't even look at my profile. They're just copying and pasting, trying to play the numbers. That's not genuine. That's not a good way to build a network. To our second point, you know, don't be fake. Fake it till you make it doesn't apply on LinkedIn because it gets cut through really quickly. So it's okay to not have experience in an industry. What you can talk about though is what you're doing to build those skills and what your ambitions are and what you've done on the teams and in school and the projects that you've worked on. That's what people are really looking for when they're looking to bring people onto their teams and their companies. And don't be confusing. Guys, this is one that's really important because it will put you to the bottom of a candidate list very quickly. And what I mean by don't be confusing is, have you ever seen someone's profile where you can't pinpoint what they do or what they're talking about, right? I've seen people that their summary or their mission statement up at the top, just like a resume, should be clear. What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to go? They'll have something along the lines of, looking to get into sports marketing, sports media. And then you look at their other parts of their profile and they're only talking about sales or, chemistry or something. It's something completely non-related. And it's confusing. So it's like, what are you actually trying to do? What's your skill set in and how are you trying to apply it? So this is a part where it's really helpful to pick like a mentor or someone to reach out to and get a second set of eyes. Hey, does this make sense? Is it concise? Is it not confusing? Another thought, LinkedIn is for companies, folks. It's not just for people. Like we mentioned before, companies have their own pages on here. And in fact, the company pages tend to be really robust and they tend to be managed by someone higher up in HR at that company or recruiting at least. So this is a great place to go and learn what size is the company, get a feel for their culture because they tend to talk about that. They'll say, we like people who are energetic and creative and this is the type of team we're trying to build. Things like that. You can even get info about the jobs, salary ranges, types of experience they're looking for. And the really good company pages will recommend contacts for you, right? Hey, if you're interested, contact this person in recruiting or in HR. So those are really good ones. Again, make your wish list of companies or industries that you're going for and start there, because when you do connect with a live person, now you can speak intelligently about it. About, hey, I saw this on your page, help me understand that, or whatever the case may be. Gives you something to reach out about. So as far as companies, there's 30 million who actively have pages on LinkedIn right now. That's across the world, of course, but there's a lot of opportunities out there that you can find just from this one page, one tool rather, platform. You can also find company reviews, right? So this is candid feedback, kind of like you'll see on Glassdoor or Indeed, probably websites and platforms you're familiar with if you're actively in the job search, where you can see reviews from consumers. What is it like to work with this company? And employees. What is it like to be a part of this company? So those are really good bits of info too. Content, that's one of the things that led me to my current company, GoHealth, is I was in the insurance industry, but not the same one as GoHealth, but I was seeing some of their postings and it was kind of intriguing. So I started following them. And then through the content, you can get a feel for what their culture is like. What do they focus on? What types of things are they working on? And like we've mentioned, contacts. Those are the really good corporate profiles where you get a contact, and that's a nice warm reach out. Same thing for the specific jobs. So on the company page, on the company pages, you'll see jobs that are posted. You can go in, it's pretty robust, just like Monster or Indeed.com. You can go in and filter. You can filter by location. You can filter by title. You can filter for how long it's been posted. It's a really powerful tool, especially considering it's tied to the platform that has all the other info here about the people that work there and who to talk to and what's important to them. So I'd encourage you to use the jobs postings. We're going to look at a bit later on how to use that effectively. You can create job alerts. So you type in the search once and tell it how often to remind you. And you'll literally get emails or text messages, whatever you prefer, notifications on your phone about updates of jobs that fit that description. Cool thing about that also is that you'll start to get recommendations for, and this is why it's important to have a really well built out profile, which is what we're talking about next. We're going to take a look. You'll start to get recommendations for, hey, we think you're a good fit for this job based on keywords and experiences that you may have. So my personal experience that actually happened with my current job, I was researching them and then I simultaneously started getting emails saying, we think you're a good fit for this job. That's what prompted me to reach out to the HR contact to say, hey, let's discuss this job opportunity. And then postings, obviously, the job postings are the roles we just talked about. Easy Apply is totally your friend. It's a feature built in under the jobs page here where, in theory, a well built out profile is going to act kind of like a robust resume for you. And Easy Apply allows you to apply just by clicking that one button. Obviously, that's a nice way to do it because if you've applied for a lot of jobs online, sometimes it can be pretty tedious. And then it's frustrating, right? Why do you have me attach my resume and then fill out 8 pages that are identical to my resume? Well, Easy Apply helps you get around that. And then contacts by title. We talked about this, or mentioned it rather already, but this is important if you're trying to figure out who do I talk to, or who are some people that already have the job that I'm applying for, so I can get talk with them and figure out what does that actually look like. Here's a part that I'm really passionate about, right? Write your own narrative. So section number 2. One of my mentors, his trademark saying was always, tell me a story. And I think this is really pertinent to what we're about to do right here, because your profile is where you get to tell your own story. And it's really empowering and really fun because you get to write the narrative, right? And we'll see what that means here. So to do that, we have to figure out what pieces we need. This is kind of like our shopping list. These are all the main parts recommended by LinkedIn and HR departments and recruiters, parts of your profile that you complete. So yes, do them all. We're going to get to a couple audience submitted questions here in a minute, but just to give you your shopping list, and we can get this to you after the webinar if you'd like, so you can kind of go through top to bottom. But what we're going to do next is look at a live profile. We're going to talk about what a good version looks like and why. You've got your headline, that's up top. It's your summary. Tends to be your current role or just something about you. Profile picture, we'll talk about do's and don'ts. Experience, I know that's on everyone's mind. We'll help you get that tailored. Education, which is where you are right now. How do we apply that? Connections is just, you either have it or you don't, right? So connect with people, build that connection base. It shows how involved and engaged you are, right? So start reaching out to people. Skills, that's up to you. Again, you're writing your own narrative. How do you want to be known? And if you identify gaps, well, that gives us something to work on. Recommendations goes back to one of our earlier points. Ask for referrals. Totally okay. Reaching out. Hey Nancy, would you mind putting a recommendation on my LinkedIn talking about leadership or sales development, something like that? Those help you show up really well. Awards and honors, same thing. Anything noteworthy that you feel like mentioning. I would say as far as importance goes, it probably goes in an order pretty close to this. But to that point, Nancy, what are some of the questions we got from the audience before this?
Okay, let's start with the first one here. What is the most important area of the LinkedIn page that a hiring manager looks at?
Great question. It's a simple question, but somewhat difficult to answer because it's kind of all of it. And what I mean by that is, it just has to match. We talked about don't be confusing. Don't worry about not having 10 years of experience. You can't. You're coming out of college. What we can do, though, is we can position our experience in a way to show what we've learned and what we're going to apply. So just make sure your summary tells tell me a story, right? Tells a story of what you're looking to accomplish. Your profile picture, paints the image that you want it to of your personality and represents you well. Experience, we'll do what we can with it because we're all growing in that area. It's just a bit of everything. Just make sure you've got all the bases somewhat covered, I think is the best way to answer it.
Okay, thanks. Here's the next question. How far back should your experience go in terms of accomplishments, scientific work? Should it go back 3 years? Should it go back 5 years?
Great question. No wrong answer here. I would say if it's pertinent to the industry or job you're trying to get into. So again, we talk about trying to be focused, which I know is hard when you're trying to break into an industry, right? But just anything that you show in your profile as far as experience, you should be able to talk about, here's what we did, and here's what I learned, and here's how I bring it to the job type of thing. So if it's pertinent, put it in there. It doesn't matter if it's 3 years, 5 years. As you go into the workforce and get more experience, it'll go back further.
Okay, and then there's one last question. What exactly is branding?
Great question. So branding is this kind of nebulous concept. Basically what it is what do people think of you when you're not around? If they hear your name, if they see your profile, what type of person, what type of business partner or associate are they thinking of, right? It's in line with reputation, like it precedes you. So, you know, if somebody sees a nice, concise profile with good wording on it and a nice smiling face on the profile picture, like, hey, that looks like someone, probably one of my team, right? They look very positive. They look like they'd be pleasant to be around, and I understand what they've been working on, and they're looking for an opportunity to grow and develop. So it's all the things that we communicate before we have a chance to meet with the people.
Ryan, we had a couple more questions come in through the webinar.
Sure.
What if you are currently employed but are seeking a job change? How do you position your profile not to tip off your current coworkers and employers who currently follow you?
Fantastic question. Been there before myself. Actually, we're gonna get to that in the section 3 of putting the system to work for you. So I'm gonna write that down on a very official Post-it note, and we'll get to that after the live profile review. So
Okay.
how to seek other jobs covertly.
And there's one other. For awards and honors, for awards and honors, do scholarships count here? Do hiring managers even care, or is this just taking up empty space?
That's a tough one. It is an accomplishment, and it's absolutely something to be proud of. Me personally, I would say leave scholarships out because you're at a transitional point in your life, right? And although the skills and experiences that you're having in college are so foundational and important and will launch you into your career, we also want to paint the image of you as a professional in the minds of these employers, right? So we're going to somewhat step away from the image of a student, and we're going to adopt the image of professional. So my personal opinion, you can disagree with me, that's fine. My personal opinion is maybe leave scholarships out. And we'll talk about that here when we're actually going to look at my profile. Not that mine is the end all be all, but I just want to show you a live example of what some of these things look like in action and talk about the value that making some of these tweaks may have.
And just one more. How do I show on my profile that I'm not currently employed and just graduated? Is it good to show that you are not employed?
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I would say don't worry about that. It's okay to be a student, right? And so I would put, as far as experience goes, full-time student. Again, anything that you put on there, be ready to have a clear conversation about. So that's where the preparation comes into place. When you're reaching out to these companies, especially, you're obviously already aware of it if you're asking the question, that there will show up an employment gap or absence, however you want to look at it. But be able to confidently talk about, yes, I was a full-time student, and here are the studies that I focused on, and here's what I learned. And now that that's over, here's how I'm looking to apply it in an industry like yours. It's really all in how you handle it. But that shouldn't be a concern. Don't worry about having that gap on there. I would just identify full-time student. Is that it, Nancy?
That's it.
Perfect. Great questions, guys. I really appreciate the participation. So what we're going to do now, I'm actually going to bring up my profile, and we'll talk about some of these other parts. All right. Again, this is the profile you'll end up on. This is my personal profile if you do the QR code on your phone. We're going to start at the top and go right to the bottom. So headline is actually, let me turn on the highlighter. Well, we'll just use the mouse. Headline is right here, folks, right under your name. Mine is Virtual Sales Program Manager at GoHealth. Industry standard, I guess, expectations, if you want to call it that, right now is, that's your current role. What do you want to be known as? If you're not employed right now, or you're a student who's seeking to get into full-time employment, it's okay to put something like seeking new opportunities, recently graduated, or, graduating September of 2020, something along those lines. Again, it just gives people a quick snapshot of where you're at in your journey, type of thing. Again, staying at the top here, summary. This is from the bullet point list, which I know you guys can't see right now, but we'll go back to it here at the end. And maybe we'll be able to send it out to everyone, just this bullet point list. Summary is to actually this about right here. LinkedIn, just like any of the platforms, changes their verbiage from time to time. So this used to say summary, now it says about. But this is where you really get to start to tell your own story. Remember I said I'm so passionate about that? Well, my first line says I'm passionate about developing meaningful and lasting relationships. I believe in investing in partnerships and building teams. I embrace change and learning opportunities with enthusiasm. I'm not going to take you through the whole thing. That's just my own personal mission statement of, hey, here's what I'm passionate about and believe in, and here's what I'd like to bring to your team. It also communicates to them what type of team and partner, you're looking to partner with. So what should they should match the description too. Having even a short one-liner in this section that's clear and says anything about your personality and your passions will set you so much higher above a list of candidates who have nothing. And a lot of people have nothing there because they just overlook it. Just because, again, hiring managers and recruiters are quickly scanning this. They start at the top just like we do, and they're looking, what makes this person special, right? And if they see a blank space there, they know it only takes 2 minutes or so to put something in there. And again, this is your opportunity to tell the world what you're about. Profile picture, this is completely visual. Some tips on it that I've learned over the years. Make sure it's clear, right? It's not a fuzzy picture. Make sure it represents you, your personality well, right? We talked about don't be fake because you don't want to send a fake image or a fake message, because you won't be happy if that ends up, if you misalign with people that aren't like you or that you don't work well with. You notice I have a suit and tie on, right? That's the industry I come from, is insurance. Make sure it just fits or aligns with whatever industry you want to get into. So I'm not going to tell you have to wear a suit and tie. A couple don'ts though. Again, we're trying to create an image of you as a professional. You are someone that we want to bring into our workforce. And we're, at least for this part, leaving behind the image of student or, maybe, dare I say, non-experienced worker. Maybe don't, I know it's tempting, but maybe don't put a picture of yourself in cap and gown. I know you're proud of it and you should be, but that's just right off the bat going to solidify this person as a student. So maybe just something in a professional attire that doesn't just show student. Don't do a car selfie. Don't do something like that. This isn't Facebook type pictures. Again, we're trying to quickly portray an image of the type of professionality that we'll bring to the team. And again, trying to highlight what makes us special. So feel free to have fun with it, right? I'm not saying be all strict. Yes, mine looks strict. Again, that's the industry I come from. The insurance industry is pretty buttoned up and polished. So along with your profile picture, the banner picture here, good opportunity, good place to kind of highlight your personality. The role that I'm in currently is focused on building the first ever team in Columbus for GoHealth. So I picked a picture of the Columbus skyline, right? We're going to be operating somewhere in this picture within the next year. It's just part of what I'm focusing on. So personal interest, hobbies, that's all good. Again, show your personality here. Hot topic up next, experience. I know we're all curious about it. A lot of you are probably saying, I'm a student. What experience do I put? That was one of the questions we just got. Experience down here, right? Whatever info you put about your experience, make sure you use action words. And we'll talk about this next as far as how to hack the system. So we're looking for, what did you do and how did you do it? What did you grow? What did you execute? Who did you partner with? Things like that. These are all indicators of how you contribute. And if I'm a hiring manager and I'm looking at someone's profile, I'm just thinking of how are they going to contribute to my team type of thing. So not only will that help the hiring manager make decisions and the recruiter make decisions, it helps the software, the algorithms that scans your profiles, just like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. It helps figure out, if your profile gets pushed through to recruiters or not. And a lot of hiring companies have software that they use to scan profiles of applicants, just like they do your resume. Another tip that we're going to look at in detail is make sure your experience here and the description of it matches your resume. In fact, I'll tell on myself, this is copied and pasted from my resume. And the reason that's important is because when you submit on places like Indeed or Glassdoor or Monster or any of them, jobs.com, or even the Easy Apply or any of the job postings on LinkedIn, you want everything to trace it back to the profile, because after they get your application in-house, they're going to scan it through their software, see if it matches. If you make it through that first batch, once you get a human set of eyes on it, they're going to go right to your profile and they're going to scan it and they're going to make a decision. Does this person sound like they're a fit? Education, obviously that's a big part of your experience right now. Highlight it, right? What's your major? What's your minor? Any extra activities that you ran? I know we talked about scholarships. If you feel strongly about it, put it on there. It's part of your education experience, right? You earned it for something. So that's okay. I know I said maybe don't highlight it. Again, that's just a personal preference, but perhaps in the education part, it would fit well. Connections is the next bullet point. We mentioned that's either you have it or you don't, but you guys can control that, right? Reach out to people, send connections, ask for referrals. That was our first bullet point. So connections is when someone comes on here, they're just going to see right here how many connections you have. I've been on LinkedIn a long time. I've used it to do my job a lot, actually, for the last 10 years. That's why I have so many connections, because I was reaching out to people in other states. I did business with people I've never met before. So LinkedIn was one of the platforms that allowed me to do that, because it's kind of like Facebook for professionals. But on the flip side, if you're applying to jobs and industries and somebody goes to look on and see how special you are as a candidate, which is what they're doing at every step, and they see that you only have 3 connections, right? And one of them is your classmates, and one of them is one of your parents, and one is Nancy, because she's everyone's buddy. They would just be curious as to why you're not engaged on it. Why are you not reaching out to people, is all I'm trying to say. And yes, I'm buddies with Nancy on LinkedIn, proudly. Skills, that's down here at the bottom. Skills and endorsements. So again, we talked about social media platforms change things all the time, sorry. It used to just be skills, and you were the one who went through a list and selected, I'm skilled at this, I'm skilled at this. Well, now they've added some depth to it. So your connections, people you're connected with, your network, can go through and say, endorse you, so to speak, as it says right here. Yes, Richard Acker thinks that I'm highly skilled at leadership. So that's nice. I'm going to reach out to Richard and thank him. Thanks man for putting it on there. What do you think? How can I get better? This is kind of like where your network is voting for you, essentially. Not voting yes or no, but voting, we talked about make sure your profile makes sense and doesn't send mixed messages. This is where your network will speak on your behalf. It is something that managers check, because they want to see what people who know you and work with you have to say about you. This is kind of the modern version of putting referrals on your resume. Just specifically for LinkedIn though. Recommendations falls under here. A recommendation goes further than a skill endorsement. Recommendations is where somebody actually takes the time to write something about you. So this is like when you leave a review on, the Apple Store or something. Hey, like our app, give us 5 stars and leave a review. Same type of thing, same type of interaction with the algorithms, right? If you have more recommendations and you have keywords in the recommendations, it'll help you show up in the algorithms when these recruiting firms and HR departments run their tests on all the applicants. Or one of the other questions here, how do I let people know I'm open for a job? If you do one of the things we're going to show you next, they'll run their own searches and you'll pop up on it. Recommendations help. So again, back to our very first bullet point of things to do, ask for these, ask for referrals, not just of who do I talk to, but, you know, hey, you did a project with someone, worked with a professor or someone in the industry, reach out to them. Hey, can you go on my LinkedIn and leave me a recommendation? You know, if you believe that I did well on it, I'd really appreciate it. And then you can reciprocate and do that for people as well. Awards and honors, this is kind of the final thing other than interests. Totally up to you. This, I think, fits more what you want to say about yourself, your interests, and where you spend your time. So I'll leave that at that. Awards and honors are nice to have. They're not a deal breaker. So don't stress too much about it. If there's something that you're proud of that you like to do, throw it on there. If there's an organization that you're frequently involved in, throw it on there. I think where you'll get the most traction with these awards and honors and organizations is directly by expanding your network, right? When you figure out, when you join, like mine has Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a public speaking club. As you can see, I haven't put many accomplishments in there. But when you do put an organization on there, you can go in and see who else is involved, who else has that on their profile. And that gives you a warm referral, if you will, easy opportunity to reach out and say, hey, I'm in that too. Let's talk. So that's an example of all these pieces, parts that we are looking at.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
We had a couple questions pop in.
Sure.
And one of them is, would you recommend using the free month of LinkedIn Premium or purchasing the premium after the free month expires?
Great question. Yeah, if you're at a point where you're actively ready to search for jobs and have interviews, like apply and have interviews, right? If you're at that stage, I would take advantage of the free month. If you're not, I would hold off till later. And then as far as continuing it, if you haven't found a job, I would consider it, right? Or if you don't at least have some prospects, I would consider it, because the things that the premium features add, let me put a caveat on that. I would consider it if you're using all the features. If you're just using LinkedIn as normal, no, don't waste your money, right? But if you're using all the advanced features like referrals and finding out about job salaries, like if that's helpful to you, which I know that's something we consider when we're searching for jobs, but if you need those extra insights and abilities to connect with people at companies, you know, I would consider it. Most corporate profiles, so many companies are using this today, like we talked about, 30 million. So a lot of times what happens is when you go and work at a company, they will, you know, pay for your premium profile, especially if you're using it for your job, like I've been. So that's a really good question.
There's one more. It says, what if your LinkedIn account only has generalities about yourself, but when you send your resume, you slightly tailor it for the job application? For example, adding a specific information or a detail on the resume that's not on LinkedIn. Should you do that or not do it?
Great question, and I could see the value of doing that, right? If you want your LinkedIn profile to be a multi-purpose tool. I would tell you, yes, absolutely tailor your resume. That's good. That's just a good process to have. And I'll leave further discussion on that to the folks that we have coming on webinars talking about resumes specifically. But yes, that's a great practice. As far as it pertains to your LinkedIn profile, I would say be aware of how general the info is, right? So I understand you're saying put the specific action items and results, I think is what you're getting at, on the resume, but you can reverse engineer that, right? If the results you're putting on your resume say, at a sales internship and I grew my territory productivity by 50%. That's what you put on your resume, right? I grew it from 100 sales a month to 200, whatever. I'm making up numbers here. But how you can reverse engineer that and show that mindset, that skill set on your LinkedIn would be in your summary or experience, focus on it, having a growth mindset, understanding the sales process, how to grow a market, things like that. Does that make sense? Or you're using those action words. I grew it. I improved the process, but you're leaving the specific numbers and discussions about the specific project to the resume. I understand that. Any others, Nancy?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving along here. I want to show you some of these hacks that we mentioned already and circle back to the one question that we didn't answer. And then I think we have some time for more answers, questions and answers. Sorry, guys. And then I'll give you some review action items and set you loose. So this is section 3, let the system work for you. These are life hacks for the job seeker. So hack number 1, use action words. We talked about this just now when we were on my profile. So 2 categories really. You want to talk about how you impacted quantity. How much did you do? I know the question we just had said, should I leave the details off? That's up to you. I could understand that if you're kind of bouncing between a couple different industries, right? And you want to be able to highlight a specific project or experience. But things that are general, to use your term from the question, that show how you contribute, exceeded. I grew the territory, I grew the team, I grew the productivity, I expanded it. Numbers are helpful too. If you have numbers and you know what industry you're going for, like I have a background in sales, right? So if I was going for a sales leadership position, I sure would want to have on my resume, I grew this territory 125% the first year and 150% the second year. That's where numbers really work to your advantage. These are not just for the eyes of the managers. As we mentioned, these actually get caught and picked up by the algorithms once your application is submitted. So the other category is quality. So how did you do it, right? They're looking here for what type of person am I bringing onto my team, and will it fit my company's or my team's culture? That's a really big focus of companies these days, is fit of culture. So, wow, I apologize, guys. My PowerPoint just quit on me. It's okay. We'll get right there. Nancy, can you, since everything's muted, can you just let me know real quick if you guys still have me?
Yeah, we're good. We still have you.
We're back at the action word screen.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, apologies on that. Everything just closed on me. But we were on category 2, which is quality. How did you accomplish that, right? Did you accomplish it by being creative? Did you do it quickly? Did you develop something new? Did you partner with people that you hadn't worked with before? Did you create something new? So again, action words, 2 main categories we're looking for. This is where it's helpful to get a second set of eyes on your resume, just like on your profile, just like your resume. Again, they should match up pretty well. 2 categories, quantity and quality. Hack number 2, automated job searches. We mentioned this before. When you go in here, these are the tabs that are across the top. When you go in and select jobs, you'll get to a screen that's something like this, right? It'll ask you to start a search. This is where you put in whatever descriptor you want. You can put in a company, you can put in a name of a role, you can put in a specific job title, whatever you want, a category, sales, recruiting, insurance. It'll give you recommendations, right? Just like we're used to with Google and other social media sites. And then you set the location. That's helpful. So you can get more focused. Like if you don't want to move and you're based in Columbus right now, set it to Columbus. It'll set it to the surrounding area. And then you hit search. Obviously, we know how to do this, and it'll show you all the jobs. What we're talking about here, though, is selecting this job alert toggle right here. Because what you can do, and I've used this with success, is you can set that automated alert. So until you go back in and turn it off, LinkedIn will continuously, like once a week is what I had mine set to, tell you what new postings there are, or if a posting got removed or got updated. So if you're actively job seeking, this is important to have because it'll be scanning for you in the background, even when you're not, sitting down doing applications. And it could prompt you to go ahead and do some research on the role or the company and reach out. This is where I mentioned we were going to get to one of the questions we had. How do you search for a job you're currently employed without, tipping off your current employer? So you go in under career interests, right? Again, these same buttons up at the top, go to jobs, career interests, and you same thing, just flip one switch. So let recruiters know you're open, right? And then furthermore, once you click that, you can go in and it has 4 kind of subcategories. Are you actively applying, casually looking, not looking, but open to offers, and not open to offers? You can also add a note to recruiters. This is where you can put some special instructions, hey, contact me on this cell phone number only, or use this email, whatever the case may be, and for whatever reason. This doesn't change anything on your profile to show that you're job hunting, right? This is not the same thing as putting open to work on your profile picture or anything like that. Everything as far as your connections go, if they pull up your profile and look, it will appear the same. Recruiters who actively use LinkedIn for scouting, and HR departments have their own recruiting profiles that they use, or memberships rather, that they pay for. And so they'll be able to see this type of info. If you're concerned that a recruiter at your current company might stumble upon it, I wouldn't worry about that too much. They're technically not allowed to do anything about it anyways. Hopefully that answers whoever had that question before. This is how you covertly do it. Hack number 4, we'll create some time for questions and answers. I said it right that time at the end here. Hack number 4, follow people and companies. This is exactly like you guys do in all the other social platforms. It will create two-way visibility, right? If you're inactive, you won't show up on anyone's feed. If you are active, you'll show up more often. Again, this is creating a presence, creating a brand, like we spoke about. How active are you and how do you show up and what do you talk about? So follow people, follow the companies, comment on people's posts, connect with people. Two-way visibility. You see who you want to talk to and they'll see you. It will increase your exposure. We just talked about that. You'll show up more often. You won't be at the bottom of the list. Pay attention to language, right? So what I mean by that is if you're actively following companies and the people that are in the industry and the people that are at the companies you're interested in, you'll pick up on the language that they use. And this is important because when you do reach out and try to apply for a job or just do a cold outreach, hey, want to get to know you and your company, can we connect? You'll know what types of things they talk about and you can use that language, use their words specifically. And that's really powerful because now they're instantly thinking like, this person is one of us. Like we got to figure out, how we can get them on the team. That goes such a long way. And you'll be first to know about changes, right? If you're following a person at a company that you're interested in or a company and they post a job, it'll come to the top of your wall, your news feed there. And so you'll be the first to know about it. So you can be one of the first to take action. All positive things that will help you be more competitive on your job search. That being said, I think it's time to open it up for some questions that we didn't get to or clarifications.
Yeah, we don't have any new ones, so maybe oh, I thought maybe one was popping up.
Give it a minute.
Yeah.
While everyone's thinking, or while we're at this stage, let me just kind of super quick recap and highlight, right? The reason why we spoke about all this. Trying to find a new job or a different job or a career or an industry is like a full-time job in itself. Doing all the research, you're starting out in an area that you typically don't know much about and in an area where you don't know people. And so I wanted to go over these tips and tricks and hacks, specifically the ones that I know from experience will be the most impactful to help you guys break into that successfully and get the most out of your research, right? So we know there's a lot of AI algorithms that go into effect with how companies interface with LinkedIn. And so we want to use that to our advantage and help you show up well and get a competitive advantage in that regards. Also wanted to help you have the best experience possible as far as connecting with people. And some of what we went over is just kind of status quo or LinkedIn culture, if you will, right? It's every social media platform has its own kind of expected culture and how people interact with it or don't, or, no-nos. And so I was hoping to share some of the things, what I've learned and what industry partners have shared about what's expected on this platform, how to show up well.
There was a question that came in. Will I want to emphasize something different than you already discussed if I want to become a consultant?
Can you read it one more time?
Sure. Will I want to emphasize something different if I desire to become a consultant? Are there different things that I should emphasize rather than what you've discussed today?
Yeah, I think I understand it correctly. Let me clarify. So the specific action words and things that I use are not meant to be prescriptive, meaning I'm not expecting you to all turn into clones of my profile. Everything that you do on here should just be true to what you're trying to convey. So if you're trying to be a consultant, your profile and your experience and the things you talk about should show that you have a depth of knowledge in the area that you're consulting on. It should communicate that your business is consulting so that people know, hey, this is how I show up in the marketplace. I am a consultant. I work with people, whether that's I teach them, I have courses that I sell, whatever the case may be. So again, no matter what language you use or images or activities, just make sure they're true to what you're trying to convey. So we talked about tell your own story. You need to start telling the story now that corresponds to what role you want to be in. So if you're a student right now and you want to be a consultant, make your profile look like you're a consultant now. And it's not lying, it's talking about here's what I believe in, here's what I focus on, and here's how I'm going to bring it to the market. If you want to get into sales leadership, but you're a student right now, talk about I believe in developing people, I believe in mentorships and partnerships, right? I want to help people be successful, and here's who I'm connecting with to learn more about that. Hopefully I answered that correctly. I think I understood it.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Here, she said, yes, you did answer the question. And we have another question. What we list under experiences, do they have to be paid, or can they also include service opportunities where we learn applicable skills for our job?
Great question. They don't have to be paid. No, service opportunities, volunteering things, those are great examples, right? And you hit the nail on the head there by identifying the fact that you can talk about what you learned, what was applicable, right? Why does it matter? What did I learn from this experience? That's what we're looking for, not how much did you get paid from it. Great questions.
Okay, here's another question. Any other tips for beginners using LinkedIn in regards to reaching out to specific people and companies? Also, is it a good idea to start building my profile and reaching out even if graduation is not until spring.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it takes some time to get up and running. I'm just going to go ahead and put it up right now. We already talked about review, but here's the action plan. It's actually only 3 steps. Yeah, start today, right? Because it takes some time and you'll have to figure out who your contacts are that you're going to go after. And Nancy, what was the first part of the question?
Oh, hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, it's gone. Oh, no, I don't remember.
Reaching out to people, reaching out,
Yes.
making connections.
There we go.
Sorry, guys, my brain was pretty full for a second there. Yeah, reach out. We talked about don't fake it till you make it, right? Own what you are. You're a student seeking to get into that job, into that industry. So just reach out. Hey, love to learn more about your industry or your company. Following you on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect and get your thoughts on what types of things I need to be doing to be successful in your industry. Or, you know, if you want to be even more pointed, go for the sale, if you will. Hey, what do I need to do to be successful on your team? Right? Think about what their mindset is. Their mindset is they're trying to figure out who's going to be beneficial to have on their team. So even though you're reaching out, say, hey, can you pour into me? Can you help me understand this? Just be clear and concise on why. I'm interested in your industry. I'm interested in your company. Can you help me get a baseline understanding of this? People respond well to things like that.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for all the great questions. Ryan, thank you so much for your time and your expertise in LinkedIn. I actually learned quite a bit too. I'm going to be going in and making some changes to my LinkedIn account. But again, I want to thank you all for participating in our webinar. If you have any additional questions or would like to make an appointment with me as far as a career appointment, I put my email in the chat feature, so dugan.2@osu.edu. So please feel free to reach out to me. As a reminder, when the webinar ends, you will be directed to complete a survey and let us know how we did and what else we could do to make it better. We would love to hear from you. And there should also be a link to our next webinar, which will be in September, I believe on September 30th. And it is the job search during COVID. So that might be of interest to some of you. So again, thank you so much. And everyone have a great day.
Thanks for having me.